Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A lot of people didn't expect us to be in a position to go 3-1 or whatever. And then it's an East game, so we just got to go out there and compete.
I'm sure every defense coordinator sits up in front of the media and says that the week of their game when you're playing a triple option type team when you're not used to doing that. Some principles carry over, but most of them don't.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on the eve of a big game for the Clemson Tigers tomorrow night in Atlanta against Georgia Tech, having to deal with the triple option of the Yellow Jackets, which appears to be back and humming at full speed this season after struggles last year. Will the Tigers be up to the task? Have they had enough time between Saturday, the few days this week, and, of course, they worked on it some in the spring and the summer, as Dabo Sweeney said yesterday, but have they had enough time this week with some of their new guys to get it right and to get everybody on the same page on how to stop the triple option? Meantime, USC continues its work for Kentucky, and the Gamecocks trying to get to 3-1 on the season and also win their second SEC game of the year. If they're able to do that, they will be well ahead of schedule, and they return home for a lengthy stay, a tough schedule, but a lengthy stay nonetheless at home, and a chance to maybe go on and do some very good things. One thing you won't have in Columbia come this spring is the NCAA men's basketball tournament, just announced by USC just a little while ago that they are not going to bid on the regional that's being taken out of North Carolina because after looking into it and checking around, they don't have the hotel space available in Columbia for that weekend to host an event of that magnitude. And you need, obviously, a lot of hotel space for the teams, the fans, the media, the officials, and all that kind of stuff that'll be coming into whatever city it goes to. So this is, it's tough news for Columbia. Now, they will bid on future ones and probably will get one. I see no reason why Colonial Life Arena in Columbia won't get one. This is good news for the upstate because this might enhance Greenville's chance to get it.
Or Charleston, if they wanted to make a play.
Have they made a play for it? I haven't heard that they're looking.
I don't know. I know they're making
arena big enough?
North Charleston?
It's about what, 11,000, 12,000?
As big as Bonds and Coors, isn't it?
No, Bonds and Coors over 15.
I mean, I think it's first of all, those NCAA tournament games don't sell out. I mean, I don't know what their minimum is.
But they do, I think, have a cutoff point for capacity.
But either way, I mean, I think Charleston would want to be in play. I know they want to make a play for the baseball tournament. It's a quick turnaround, and logistics are a big part of it. You do have to have a certain number of hotel rooms available to block off because that could be a catastrophe for the teams and the fans coming in. So, yeah, that's a piece of breaking news. Another piece of breaking news as we talk about USC and Kentucky Saturday night, Drew Barker will not play Saturday night and might not play for a while. According to the latest reports out of Kentucky, he's out a significant amount of time.
Wow. All right. So that means it'll be is it Stephen or Stephen Johnson, the junior college transfer who played very well.
Dual threat
in his absence. I don't know what's better for South Carolina, a quarterback that is going to be in the pocket, but who has a very big arm and a big body. Barker is a big guy, or a guy who's more mobile, who can run and throw, and who did a really good job in that game against New Mexico State. But New Mexico State's defense is Swiss cheese. I mean, South Carolina has a much better defense than New Mexico State. I'm going to pick the Gamecocks to win that game in a high-scoring game because
high-scoring.
I think high-scoring. Well, I mean, look, Kentucky gave up 42 points to New Mexico State. They gave up a bunch of points to Florida. Their defense has not been good, not at all.
Well, South Carolina's offense has not been.
This is going to be their breakout game.
I wouldn't describe South Carolina's offense with 10 points, 14 points, and 20 points respectively in the first three games.
Breakout game. This is going to be the breakout.
They might have to eclipse what they scored total in the first 3 games to win a high-scoring game against Kentucky?
I think it's possible.
So you think they can score
against this defense? Yeah, I think so. And I think now McElwain got a full start behind him. He's played in all 3 games. He needs to settle down a little bit. I went back and watched the USC-Kentucky game, and even though he got them to that win and they got those 2 early touchdowns, he missed a lot of open receivers. And he's got to kind of and pro his ball. When he missed, it was high. The ball seemed to be sailing on him or just overthrowing people. Like he's not – like he really wasn't settled in.
Too wide of a step, according to Muschamp, was dropping that elbow and the ball was sailing.
There you go.
I'm trying to figure out whether some of the throws the ball sailed or he's still not cognizant of when to take a chance. In other words, I'd rather throw it high out of bounds than throw an interception. And some of those tight windows he
Kurt Roper would probably prefer that too.
Yeah. So I think probably. But, one of the things I like about what I saw are players who are now thinking the game. I don't know the cornerback's name at the time. Maybe it was Lamont's. Play action fake, roll out to the left, throw back right. It's a touchdown for East Carolina. But guess what? Somebody thought, Lamont said, grab the guy. It's only 10 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got the 10-yard penalty, they got in the field goal range, and the field goal was blocked. So sometimes you commit an error in order to right the ship for the long term, and they erase 7 points by somebody thinking, pass interference, let's go, let's get the penalty.
Mm-hmm. All right. So anyway, I like the Gamecocks against Kentucky, and I'm taking the points. And
I thought you don't want the points if you're picking them straight up.
Well, I am picking them straight up, but I want the points too, just to play it in terms of competition.
You want those 2.5 points.
I want the points. and what say you at this point of the week? Have you made your decision?
Yeah, I think South Carolina wins that game. I mean, Kentucky, they have a lot on the line. It seems like they always circle this game as kind of make or break for them, but it's make or break for the coaching staff, the season, perhaps the quarterback's gone. Now, sometimes guys galvanize and rally when these kind of things happen, and maybe that happened a little bit last week. They gave up a ton of points to New Mexico State, who's not
and
very
yards.
good.
And
yards. So, yeah, I think South Carolina wins this game.
And what do you think?
I think South Carolina wins this game for two reasons. So I think probably –
I say that because all 3 of us are picking the Gamecocks.
That's never good.
Not going to make them happy.
I'm just have a feeling that Kentucky, as you said, they're on edge. And they got a quarterback who's played before in junior college, but this is a different system for him. And I'm not so certain that Kentucky is not going to turn the ball over at least 3 times in this football game. I mean, because one of the things Muschamp is really getting on his guys now is I want some turnovers. I want them forced. And you could tell even when guys are not turning the football over, South Carolina's defensive players are trying to punch that ball out.
Kentucky has given up 44, 45, and 42 points in their 3 games. That's 100. Got carried to 1. That's 131 points, I believe. Am I right about that? Pretty close. 131 points in 3. I mean, the Gamecocks should have an explosion and score 30 points or more against Kentucky. And that should be enough.
If I'm the Gamecock coaching staff, and I know Barker was in the game, the only film I show them is when Kentucky took a 35-10 lead against Southern Miss. That's the team you're going to play. Just tell them that. Because I still can't fathom how a team in 30 minutes of football, 5-point lead. I mean, even if you just hold the ball and take the play clock down to 30 seconds every time, how many times can the team have a chance to blow a 25-point lead?
Not many, but they did. So I think South Carolina is going to score some points. This will be a game where their offense should really stand out and have a good day as long as they don't turn it over.
They need to, because it's going to be tough sledding for a while.
Oh, yeah.
After this one.
They better get it now.
It's going to be a little difficult.
We'll talk about Clemson, Georgia Tech coming up. Also, we've got the M&M boys coming your way tonight at the bottom of the hour. Can't wait to hear what they have to say about last weekend and what's ahead this week. It's Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. We'll be right back.
Your final word in sports. Your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. This is Sports Talk.
All right, we are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 if you want to jump on board quickly. 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com. On Twitter @SportsTalkSC. K-Mac, got some bad news for you.
What's that?
This is really going to disturb you. It's going to really upset you.
I don't know if I can handle this.
Had the annual physical today. They said I'm good for another year.
That's good to know.
So that's another year that you got to wait before you can move over to the big boy's chair.
Moved to that chair. You just haven't noticed.
Hate to tell you that. I know outwardly you're saying all the right things that you're happy for me, but I know deep down, deep inside where you don't want to go, you're very upset.
Right. You got me.
All right. Here is some information from Kentucky, going back to Drew Barker. Stoops confirming Barker out for a significant amount of time, back injury, and it's non-surgical right now. Stoops also said the defense has regressed at Kentucky. He said guys need to get better.
Understatement.
And get together or we'll continue to, quote, play like crap, end quote. Gunnar Hoke is preparing to be the backup quarterback, and Luke Wright will be available as well. And Barker, they said, out at least 3 to 4 weeks, could be rest of the season, Stoops said. Reminder at Georgia Tech that on-campus parking for the game tomorrow won't open till 5 o'clock, so be aware of that. Also, they sold out all of the tickets for the students, and they're making more tickets available for the students at Georgia Tech, which tells me they still have tickets available from the general public that they're going to give to the students. So there'll be more Georgia Tech students in the stands tomorrow night. Now, Clemson and Georgia Tech, and it's the Tigers laying 9.5 on the road at Tech. I cannot let those points go. I'm taking the points. And you know, I can't pick against Clemson to win. I gotta pick Clemson to win because I've said they're never going to lose again, you know, the rest of time. So I still have to stick to that. I'm not one of those that goes with the blow of the wind. So Clemson will win, but they will not cover. That's how I see it. Okay. And I think this may be a real dogfight to the very end.
I wrestle with that, and I just came to the conclusion, if I'm Deshaun Watson in that offense, I'm on Thursday night. Doggone it. We're going to play our best game.
They're going to throw a lot to Mike Williams. Mike Williams might match the kid from East Carolina with catches if it's possible. A lot of quick outs to Mike Williams, a lot of slants, maybe a couple of deep ones. You got to keep an eye on on Georgia Tech early. You saw what they did to Vanderbilt. First play of the game, fake the handoff, hit the receiver. It wasn't a particularly deep pass. It was sort of a mid-range pass, but Vanderbilt was nowhere to be seen. He took it the distance, like 80 yards on the first play of the game.
That's the only thing I worry about with Clemson's defense. I think their front seven is fine, but I know Brent Venables is sitting there with his safety saying, look, I don't want any peeking in the backfield. If your guy goes out, go out there with him. I know y'all want to get in on the running game because they run that triple option. If we need you, just read your keys because they'll fake into that line and then you'll be caught coming up and then he's back there wide open. They've done it all the time. So I think a special prayer meeting for the safeties has been already.
I think Clemson's going to win big tomorrow at Georgia Tech.
Not even close.
No, I think
so. You don't want the points. You don't want. I mean, you're laying the
Clemson
points.
will cover that spread.
Okay.
I think Clemson will put a big number on the board offensively. Georgia Tech will score. I'm sure they'll move the ball some, but I just think Clemson's going to be laser sharp, dialed in. They know what the track record is in Atlanta. They know the track record against Georgia Tech. They know what happened the last time they were on that field. Certainly that hasn't left their mind. And they know that through 3 games, there are still people out there asking questions. They're looking for their first statement of the season, and this will be a chance on a nationally televised stage to do that. I think the offense is going to play big. Georgia Tech defensively, they have some issues. They have some issues in the secondary. I don't know how they're going to cover Clemson's receivers. I think it'll be Clemson moving the ball at will. I think they'll put a lot of points on the board. I think they'll win going away. So lay the points. Mortgage the house.
All right.
Put all your kids' college funds on it.
All right. 800-956-7266. That's right. Blame me. 800-956-7266 is the number. One more quick note, and then we'll get to some phone calls. Talk about your quarterback issues at Coastal Carolina. Coach Joe Moglia announced today, of course, he's lost his starting 2 quarterbacks to injuries. He's named Tyler Keene from Reach High School as the starter against Furman. Also, he's announced that Tyler Chadwick, one of the standouts on the baseball team, second baseman, is practicing with the team this week. He's a former high school quarterback, and he's going to join the football team for the rest of the season. What's interesting is that last fall he worked as a volunteer with the football coaching staff and was elevated to an offensive intern with the Shots this season, specifically working with the quarterbacks to becoming a football coach in the future. Also, former high school quarterback Jordan McCray from Fayetteville, a true freshman who had been working with linebackers, and Ryan Lee out of Spring Valley, a true freshman who had been at wide receiver. They're practicing with the quarterbacks as well. Last week against Jacksonville State, they lost Josh Stilley, who started the first 3 games in the second quarter, and Moglia indicated this week that Stilley would likely miss the season with a knee injury. In the preseason, the guy they thought was going to be the starter, Chance Thrasher, he was lost with a shoulder injury. And, of course, they have the freshman Avery McCall from Dillon there as well, but apparently he's not going to be the starter against Furman this week. All right, to the phones we go. 800-956-7266 is the number, and going to go to Glenn in North Charleston first up tonight here on Sports Talk. Hello, Glenn. How are you?
How you doing this evening, Mr. Cornbluth?
We're good. We're fine. Thank you.
And I'm glad everybody's there and doing fine.
Yes, sir.
And I have to disagree with your Clemson guy there. It's not going to be an easy game. If Clemson falls asleep, this is not going to be like NC State. You know, this is going to be Georgia Tech reminds me of the Gamecocks, and they'll fight for everything on this game. They're not going to lie down, and they'll come back, and they might meet those points. And I remember one year everybody was doing the same thing, and Georgia Tech beat them. I mean, they upset them by like 7 points or something like that. But Georgia Tech can beat Clemson. It's been proven. You know, they remind me of the Gamecocks. We're not here to just, you know, be a rebuilding team. We're here to win the game. And that coach is there to win the game. And it's a home game, too. I don't know if they're going to have it too easy.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy. K-Mac thinks it'll be a walk in the park. I think it's going to be a struggle to the end. And Pro, you're thinking Clemson's going to win?
Yes, because I think from a mental standpoint, not only do they want to win this game, they've heard the talk. Y'all guys are sitting on your duffs. You're sitting on your laurels. They're going to get their timing down. And plus, you know what they're also going to do? They're going to send a message to that team up near I-71 in Kentucky. Bring it on, because we got an offense too. Yeah, they want to do a lot of things.
Well, I think there's a lot of people in the business world and television on the ABC side of things that want to see Clemson win. And that would set up, not a 1 versus 2, because, I mean, Alabama's not going to lose to Kent State.
You're not suggesting subterfuge here.
No. I'm just saying the TV people would love to see, Clemson do exactly what K-Mac says, blow out Georgia Tech. Louisville's playing Marshall on the road. Now, this could be that old trap game that Louisville's walking into at Marshall. Marshall's not a bad football team now.
No.
They're not bad.
But they're not that good.
Well, but you just don't know where Louisville was absolutely frothing at the bit, sky high for Florida State. And now they got to go up to Marshall, play up there in the mountains, and it could be the trap game. I mean, they're too talented. They should win, but it might be a bit of a struggle for them. But you'd love to see Clemson and Louisville get their wins this weekend to set up a mega showdown at Clemson next Saturday night. What do the M&M boys think about all this? We'll find out in a moment.
big guys are up next. Corey Miller. The big guys are up next. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. It's the M&M Boys. This is Sports Talk.
Welcome back into Sports Talk here on a Wednesday night, the eve of the Clemson-Georgia Tech game. Let's welcome in the M&M Boys to Sports Talk. Corey Miller, former Gamecock star linebacker, NFL standout linebacker, and former Clemson standout offensive lineman, Will Merritt, who I want to see one day in that Clemson Hall of Fame, in that Ring of Honor.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath.
Well, maybe if you make a mega donation, they'll name something after you.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the only way I can possibly get in. It won't be for what I did on the field, I can assure you that.
That is not true. Listen, I remember interviewing you at the North-South game.
I remember that very well.
And you said my offers were Presbyterian, maybe Gardner-Webb, and Clemson was showing some interest. You might have been the last guy they took in that class, and you made a player out of yourself.
Well, you know what I do remember? I remember that it was one of those years where they were giving out the stars for recruits.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, whatever.
Yeah.
They gave me a 0 star. I had 0 stars by my name. And so I just told my dad, I'm like, by God, they're going to know my name before I leave. They're going to know who I am.
Yes.
So
that is true. Now, Corey, how many stars?
I took a 0 star and tried to turn it in to absolutely everything that I've gotten.
And Corey, how many stars did you have by your name?
Well, if they had stars back then, they wouldn't have had enough stars. So I don't know about a 3-star and all that.
Expected anything less out of him.
Right, yeah, I don't know about those things. I like to know, what would a parade All-American and all? What would that be called? But you used to call me all the time at the house. What was it?
I have not forgotten those days, old man.
I'll tell you what they don't call him. They don't call him Mr. Humble. Okay, that's what they don't call him.
No, man, you just gotta boast on the blessing that the Lord has blessed you with, brother. So I'm thankful that whatever it was, he sent me to South Carolina, and it was a great career. So I'm very blessed and thankful about it.
Turned out well for both of you. All right, let's talk about Clemson and Tech, since that's coming up tonight. Corey, Clemson's defense, what do they have to be worried about in dealing with the cut blocks, and maybe not even the actual cut blocks, but just the idea of that kind of blocking? How does that affect the defensive guy?
This is the worst offense in the world to try to play against. And it's hard to practice against because you can't afford to get guys hurt because they do dive at the ankles and at the legs. And so it's hard to really simulate how to play those blocks. You kind of do it through slow motion, getting a hand on the hat, the shoulder, and kind of, get back and get off your blocks. But they're going to have to play assignment football. It's the same when you're playing a triple option team. The key is, one, if you can get great penetration, but you got to respect and know your gaps. You got to know who you got. Because there's going to be a lot of window dressing and a lot of things that the offense is going to try to do. There's going to be a lot of influence blocks, as they call it. So you got to know your defense. One of my keys that I'm talking about tonight on TV is, you got to play assignment football. You can't make mistakes because that one mistake is going to cost you a touchdown. And Georgia Tech, that's what they do. So, they'll take 2 yards in a cloud of dust and hoping that one player becomes undisciplined, and that mistake's going to cost a touchdown. But you have to, and it's really hard to do because you're playing with your eyes. You're going to hear that from coaches. You got to keep your eyes up. You got to see the football because, if you're looking down at that guy who's potentially blocking you, you're going to get cut. So you got to play with good eyes. But it's disciplined football. and it's hard to play against. It really takes away the aggression. It takes away the athletic ability of guys that are bigger, stronger, faster than you. And that's why this offense is really good. That's why Wofford and Citadel can beat South Carolina, because if you don't play great with great discipline, you're going to lose a football game.
Mm-hmm. Will, Clemson fans are waiting for this team to put it together and show what it showed last year. Now, they played South Carolina State. I guess you kind of have to dismiss that. Do you think this team is ready tomorrow night on offense to show what it's got?
Yeah, let me tell Corey something. Blah 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 blah. Okay, listen. At the end of the day, talent beats talent. Okay, if you're more talented than the other team, then you win. And what Coach Venables has done a great job of is he puts more talented guys on the field, and they play great football. They play great assignment football. And so, yeah, I think they're ready. Yeah, they'll beat Georgia Tech. I've got no issue with that, none whatsoever. I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that Clemson will go out there and be prepared. We all know the fact that in preseason, and it's duly noted, that they prepared for Georgia Tech before the season even started. They're ready for an option team, because here's what happens. If you want to beat an option team, all you do is play assignment football, have guys in the right position at the right time. That's all you got to do. Mm-hmm. And that's what they're going to do. They'll be fine, because Clemson's going to be bigger, stronger, faster than Georgia Tech on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, Corey, you agree? It's that simple, Corey? Does Clemson have that much of a significant edge to just do what Will just said?
Well, I'm not going to say they have that much of an edge, because I agree talent on a equal playing surface always trump the other talent. But again, they have a way of controlling talent, because it takes away your strength, it takes away your speed. And that's why I'm going to say it.
Yeah,
it's going to slow these big guys down, Will, because I think that's why Clemson hasn't won in Atlanta since 2003. It's been 2000, and they've had better talent, but they've lost games.
All right.
I mean, would you agree with that, Phil?
Ask Will. Don't ask me.
No, I'm just saying that since 2003 they haven't won in Atlanta.
Oh, you're right.
So,
that's a fact. Yeah,
and they have had better talent all those years, and they lost those games. So you're gonna have to play a time like this. And you have to play. That's what I'm saying. You got to play disciplined football, because that offense, South Carolina had more talent than Citadel. I mean, that's why guys go to the Citadel to play football, not South Carolina, because coaches say they're not good enough.
I would disagree.
You play an offense that slows that down.
All right, hang on, Corey. Go ahead, Will.
I would disagree with the fact that the South Carolina had more talent than the Citadel, because I don't think they've recruited that well.
Come on,
Will. But they played Clemson closer than anybody besides Alabama, who beat them. They didn't have more talent, but you barely beat South Carolina by 5 points here in Columbia. So you can't have it both ways. So that same less talented team than the Citadel almost was right there with Clemson here in South Carolina. So that's what I'm saying. Clemson had more talent, but South Carolina had a chance to win. So I totally disagree. I mean, it's all about scheme. Scheme does play a factor. You can say what you want to. Scheme plays a factor on how games are played out. And, so if you don't play the right way, that better talent don't show up, play with great effort and discipline, they can lose. That less talented team can beat you. And we've seen it several times in South Carolina. I've been a part of it. 1990, here in Columbia, losing to the Citadel. So I know nobody on that Citadel football team was better than I was, and you can call it you're not humble. but
wait a minute.
Well, you only have to be better for 60 minutes.
Wait. Didn't that Citadel football team didn't have a pretty good little running back back then?
Who?
When they beat y'all back in 90. When they beat you in 90, didn't that?
They had a good quarterback. Jack Douglas was a good quarterback. They had a good running back. Dan Johnson, who's now a solicitor, was on that football team. They were good players, but they were good players for the Citadel. They're very smart, and they're great educators and doing a great job. So I'm just saying,
Wait a minute.
My thing was I can't do what they do. I'm not a lawyer. I was a football player.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying across the board, guys that go to Newberry, guys that go to SC State, you may have one or two diamonds in the rough here or there, but overall, guys at Clemson and South Carolina should be better football players than those guys there. But why sometimes it's Clemson and South Carolina struggle to beat Wofford? Why sometimes the Citadel beat South Carolina because of the system. That's why Georgia Tech, who was totally less talented than Clemson, but at the same time, Clemson has lost there and hasn't won on the road in Atlanta since 2003. Explain that one. It is the system in which they run.
All right. Hang on, and we'll let you rebut here in just a second.
Come on, I know I'm getting a hallelujah out here in South Carolina Radio Network land somewhere.
And we'll let you dump on the Gamecocks, Will, when we come back from the break. It's the M&M boys here on Sports Talk, and we'll be right back.
The big guys are up next. Corey Miller and the big guys are up next. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. It's the M&M boys. This is Sports Talk.
All right, let's continue with the M&M boys. Will Merritt, Corey Miller with us here on Sports Talk. Okay, Will, I know you've been biting your tongue. I'll give you a chance to wrap up the Clemson-Georgia Tech discussion with a response.
Well, I mean, you can't get a word in edgewise when Corey's, flapping his gums on the other end. So, you just have to sit back and just wait. But, look, at the end of the day,
Corey,
there he goes again.
I know, Corey.
Stop interrupting me.
Let Will talk. Go ahead.
No,
Will.
I mean, at the end of the day, here's what Coach Venables has proven. Okay, he has proven that he will prepare a defense ready to play. Okay, if he's done anything else, he's proven that he will have guys mentally and physically prepared to play against anybody. I'm not worried at all. I'm not worried at all about Georgia Tech. None whatsoever.
Okay. All right. South Carolina, Kentucky. Corey, did the Gamecocks show you enough with Brandon McElwain at home and that defensive effort against a very good East Carolina team that got a bunch of yards but not that many points? They're going to go face a team that just scored 62 points, but they're going to, of course, their backup quarterback did all the damage last week, and he's going to get the start. So did South Carolina show you enough to go on the road and get a second SEC road victory?
Absolutely. I love the poise of Brendan McElwain. One thing I said last week when talking about South Carolina, they had to give him the keys to the car and let him drive it, and they did just that. 17 points. They jumped out on East Carolina. Again, they got to do a better job, in the second half of keeping things going. I think they will this week. Kentucky's given up over 43 points per game. So that gives me hope that this offense, what a good time to try to get things going. I think he's going to get better each and every week. He's prepared. I talked to some coaches there. They love the direction in which he's going. I thought the offensive line did a great job last week. Again, Deke Adams continued his streak of the defensive line getting no sacks. That continued here in Columbia last week. But I think this team is going to go to Lexington and win this football game. I like the Gamecocks. Deebo Samuel told me he would not be available till next week, what I heard. So I still think those young receivers are going to play well. I love the emergence of David Williams, what he did, 67 yards rushing, that critical fourth down, trusting him with the football. And I think they're going to gain more trust, giving him more carries because I think he's ready, got his mind set to play football. I'm taking the Gamecocks in a win over Kentucky. I think they scored the most points they've scored all season on the road, 27-24.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that Debo told you that?
No,
hang on, Will, hang on. Corey, are you saying that Debo told you he's not going to play this week at Kentucky?
From what I heard a little birdie named Debo that he's going to be ready next week. So that's what I heard.
All right, because Will said yesterday that he would be able to play. Will Muschamp, not Will Merritt. Now, Will Merritt, what do you think of South Carolina and what you saw of them from afar? But you see progress with the Gamecocks.
Yeah, I got to watch the game on the monitor while we were calling the game, last weekend. So I didn't get to see it up close and personal. But it's what East Carolina did, and I know this is not your typical East Carolina football team. But at the same time, they turn the ball over in so many critical times. So you have one of two ways you can look at that. You can look at it as East Carolina just fumbled it, or that South Carolina did something to cause a turnover. I really think that South Carolina's defense is kind of flying around right now, and they're playing really good football, and so they're kind of creating some turnovers. I don't get it as necessarily East Carolina just coughed it up. So I'm with Corey on this one. Unfortunately, I don't like to agree with anything he ever says, but I do think that South Carolina wins this football game.
Well, now are Clemson people, as the season wears on, and are Clemson people starting to get a little bit, concerned about South Carolina? They think that game in November is going to be?
I'm not concerned at all.
Okay. All right.
None whatsoever.
Okay. They better be concerned about Louisville, but that's what they really need to be concerned about. But we'll see
I'm
next
very
week.
concerned about Guys. That's going to be a much more interesting conversation next week. I think Louisville might be the best. Well, listen, guys. I'm the guy that predicted Florida State last week. Okay, so I've got plenty of egg on my face. I didn't think Louisville was going to necessarily win the game. I didn't know they were going to win by 40. Good gosh. Nobody.
Oh boy. Well, Will, you should feel you should feel better then, because you got to feel better that Clemson could do the same thing down in Tallahassee when we get to that. But that should make you feel a little bit better.
These high-profile programs, Florida State, Notre Dame, they should learn that whenever Showtime wants to come in and do that season-long inside look with you, that's not a good thing, because Notre Dame had it last year.
It's never a good thing.
Notre Dame had it last year, and we saw what happened with them. Now Florida State. In fact, they this week they were running the show leading up to the Louisville game and the injury to their great safety and how they dealt with all that. And it's really interesting. But I mean, I think, the coaches become actors now. I think anytime you put a camera in front of somebody, it changes them. Whether they realize it or not, you change. Your personality changes when that camera is in your face. And they've got that camera everywhere, in the meetings, in the weight room, in the dorms, on the practice field. Don't tell me it doesn't affect you somehow.
That don't change me at all, Phil. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
I mean, what are you saying? I mean, because of camera and lights,
you're the only man on the line right now that wears makeup for a living.
I'm really fighting that one, Will. I'm fighting that one so bad, but my dome shines so much. I get that TD Jake sweat going on.
You gotta get that shine off.
I gotta get the shine off and dull it up a little bit. But you're right. I mean, that's a lot going with camera. That's why a lot of
wait a minute.
Wait.
Will, don't you have to wear makeup when you guys before you do a football game, and you got to do the stand up before the game?
This past weekend. They were about to put a camera right on us to do the game for ESPN.
Yeah.
And Pete's over there just caking on the makeup.
I was going to say, I know.
They're like,
I know.
No, they walked up to me and they said, "Mr. Merritt, would you like to get some makeup?" And I said, "Absolutely not. I refuse. No matter what, I will not."
Well, I know Yanity when we did the games last year, but he cakes it on. I'm like, man, dude, really? Nobody know who you are.
Well, look, if you look like Pete, you need as much makeup as possible.
Yeah, he's not the best looking. No, I love Yanity.
If you look like Corey, you're trying to put on as much as you can to look white instead of black.
Well, I'm trying to be white, I guess.
All right, with that. Wait a minute. I need your prediction, Will. South Carolina and Kentucky.
Oh, it's going to be South Carolina. They're going to win the ball game.
Oh, really? Okay. Guys.
Smart man.
By the way, Will, who are you speaking to tonight in Charlotte?
I'm actually speaking for the Rachel's Challenge program. I don't know if y'all know about that. Rachel Scott was the very first woman to ever killed in a high school shooting in Columbine. And the Rachel's Challenge program allows an anti-bullying campaign. And so I'm speaking at 14 high schools over a 3-day period about anti-bullying and being kind to each other in high school. So
kind of like on this show.
You take a lesson from your own words. Be kind to me, fella. How about that? Now, let me just say this real quick, Phil, because you didn't ask me what I thought about Clemson.
Hurry up.
I've been bullied by you enough.
You got 20 seconds, Corey.
Here we go. The Clemson Tigers travel down to, I love it, hot Atlanta to take on the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech. It's been since 2003 since they got a W, and I'm going to tell you right now, they don't have to wait to Louisville next week. It's going to happen on tomorrow night. The Tigers will go down to Georgia Tech. I'm taking Paul Johnson tomorrow over the Tigers. Mark it down.
Woo! All right, guys. Thank you. We got to go. Thank you.
That's still
good. Yes. The M&M boys here on Sports Talk. We love them. Corey Miller and Will Merritt. They don't come any better. We appreciate their contributions to the program. And we will hit a break. We'll come back and give you recruiting. We got some stuff from the Gamecocks and Tigers for you. And, of course, tonight it's an SC Wild kind of night here on Sports Talk. You want to talk gator hunting? We're going to talk gator hunting, I'm sure, because they're catching some big ones out there. Jarmart, he's not happy. He's not happy that we do that in South Carolina. We'll let him ask the captain a question about that tonight. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Wednesday night from downtown Columbia. Thanks again to the M&M boys for being with us tonight. Always enjoy having them with us. Let me update a couple of other notes, then we'll give you some recruiting. Then we're going to hear from Clemson defensive coordinator Brent Venables. Taj Boyd, former Clemson quarterback, was in court today in Greenville, and he had the charge against him stemming from a nightclub incident in July. All the charges dismissed, pending 6 months good behavior, 40 hours community service, restitution paid to the victim. Pickens High School today fired football coach John Boggs. Yeah. And assistant coach Chad Seaborn will be the interim coach the rest of the season. Seaborn was the team's head coach from 2009 to 2014 before Boggs took over. The Blue Flame, 4-7 last year, 1-3 so far this season. Sounds like Scott Strickland of Mississippi State is the top candidate for the A job at Florida. He has no real connection to Florida. He's a Mississippi State alum, been working there for much of his career, but he's highly respected, considered one of the up-and-coming young ADs in the country. And the odds to win the college football championship now from Bovada, Alabama is now 7-2. They were 4-1. Ohio State's 4-1. They were 7-1. Louisville has gone from 20-1 to 13-2. And Clemson has gone from 13-2 to 7-1. And Michigan is 10-1. Houston and LSU are 16-1. Washington is 20-1, and Florida State is now 25-1. Those of you who follow that kind of stuff.
But I still say Florida State ain't out of it.
No. Things could happen. All right, to recruiting now. Defensive back C.J. Avery of Grenada, Mississippi, took an official to California last weekend. Remember, he's got a guy on the staff at California he's close to. Next up is an official to Auburn this weekend. For his third official, he's looking at Clemson for the Louisville game now. He has not decided on his final two. Nice experience at Cal, he said, first time being in California. Likes the coaches. Heard from Clemson recruiter Mike Reed about a week ago, and he's still expressing solid interest, but he feels Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Auburn are recruiting him the hardest of all the schools right now, no favorite. Defensive lineman Romello Martin of Brooklyn has his 5 officials in mind, and he'll be making a lot of trips to the South to check out his favorites. He's not set the dates yet for the visits, but he said he'll set trips USC, Florida, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Miami. He has visited USC and Florida unofficially already. He said he might get one official in during the season, the rest after the season. He hears regularly from all 5, and he has USC, Florida, and Ole Miss as the top 3. USC recruiter Lance Thompson was in touch about 4 days ago, and he checks in with him regularly. Jerry Hamilton of ESPN reports former Alabama commitment defensive lineman Aaron Sterling of Tucker, Georgia, will take officials to NC State December 2nd and to USC likely on December 9th. Athlete Tansy Richardson of South Aiken was offered last week by Maryland. He'll visit Georgia October 15th for the Vandy game. He also plans to visit USC for a game. Limestone offered a couple of in-state players, offensive lineman Tanner Lawson of TL Hanna and linebacker DeAndre Bryson Ashford of Ridgeview. 2018 receiver Tyleek Collins of Savannah, some early contact from Clemson, also hearing from Notre Dame, Vandy, Kentucky, Duke, Purdue, Central Florida, and others. 2018 running back Mateo Durant from McCormick says he's hearing from USC, Florida State, North Carolina, Wake Forest, Duke, Navy, Purdue, Virginia, Oregon, and Appalachian. 2018 quarterback Seth Aguinobi of Alexandria, Virginia, 6'2", 190. He has drawn some contact from Clemson. He's also hearing from North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Michigan State, Rutgers, and Coastal. In basketball, 6'7" Amir Sims of Dike, Virginia, did not take an official last weekend, and he said he's not sure if he'll take any more. He visited Clemson officially earlier this month, really likes the Tigers. He had also planned to visit VCU, Miami, Pittsburgh, and Notre Dame, but he said he's not ready to take any more visits, but he's not ready to make a final decision just yet either. Clemson, Vandy, and Florida were in this week to see 6'9" Ejike Obina. He'll visit Vanderbilt this weekend. He's been to Clemson and Florida. Louisville was going to visit Devontae Shuler today at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, might get an official visit with him. He's been to USC, and he's got Oklahoma State this weekend and Ole Miss the next weekend. Clemson was in today to see 2018 6'2" Rasir Bolton of Norfolk, Virginia. And USC and South Florida were in on Tuesday to see 2019 forward Vernon Carey Jr. of Fort Lauderdale, according to Phenom. There you go with recruiting for now. Remember to check it out on the website, sportstalksc.com. On Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting to take you to all our recruiting information. All right. We talked a lot about Clemson, Georgia Tech coming up tomorrow night. I'll be in Atlanta, and so we'll help to set the stage for you from Atlanta tomorrow night. I think I'll have breakfast at the Varsity. And then I think I'll have lunch at the Varsity. And then I think I'll watch the game from the men's room.
And then you, I was about to say, you have a Pepto-Bismol cocktail.
Anyway, Brent Venables, he hopes that Georgia Tech doesn't upset his stomach with its offense. He's been playing quarterback on the Tiger scout team, helping them get ready for Georgia Tech. He explains why.
I just haven't experience with the offense, just being able to control the tempo and mesh points and how to operate the offense pre-snap. Scouts are a little more scared of me, so I can hurry up and get them lined up faster, snap it when I want to, make sure the defense is adjusted the right way. So if I need to stop just before I snap it, I can. Just being efficient.
Players said they want to make sure that you don't complete a pass on them because you'll let them hear about it for a long time if you do.
Yeah. And unfortunately, with these guys, when they throw, they're open. They're usually for touchdowns. So, but we have fun with it.
Coach, I remember after your first experience here with Georgia Tech that you just said, "Thank goodness that's over." Have you ever dealt with another program that I guess brings that level of frustration, for lack of a better word?
Probably not. They're just unconventional, simplistic in some ways, but unconventional. And again, that's a different type of preparation. So I'm sure every defensive coordinator sits up in front of the media and says that the week of their game when you're playing a triple option type team, when you're not used to doing that. Some principles carry over, but most of them don't. And so you got to change a lot of things and, get them caught up, our players, familiarity-wise and technique-wise.
What is it about Dorian O'Daniel that brings a different edge to the game?
I think he's strong, athletic, quick, just option rules, principles, and things of that nature. So he can play the little cat and mouse game. But he's hard. He's a former running back. He's hard to knock off his feet. He's got great feet and good strength to go along, with his frame.
Christian.
Okay, Brent Venables, you can hear the voice starting to wear out a bit. I imagine from all the talking he's been doing, all the instructing. If he's calling out the signals as the scout team quarterback, and then he's stopping and telling guys, hey, be here, put your eyes here, make sure your hands are here. It's going to be tough. And I don't know. I think that I think this game's going to be a late fourth quarter kind of thing. And I think Clemson will pull it out at the end of the day. But I don't think they're going to cover that spread of 9.5 points.
Yes, they will.
I think
they will. End of story.
Okay. I think Clemson jumps on them early, make them play catch up.
Be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Coming to you from downtown Columbia, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and the Professor Tom Hayes. We've got SC Wild in just a little bit. Also, USC running back David Williams, who ran wild, more or less, against East Carolina. Hey, score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. It's now open in Clemson. Founders Clemson location is located on Highway 93 next to Walmart's Neighborhood Market. They also have 4 on-campus ATMs, 3 of which accept cash and check deposits. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. And let's give you the high school football report tonight. A service of Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau Insurance, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you've received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever. So get a free quote today from your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. And some high school stats compiled by the High School Sports Report for you. The state's leading rusher right now, Ryan Smith from the Anderson Cavaliers. I looked up the Anderson Cavaliers because I didn't know anything about the Anderson Cavaliers. And they are a school, homeschoolers in Anderson. And they play in the Skeezer League. And so Ryan Smith has 1,009 rushing yards. DeMarco Jackson of Broome has 780 yards. Tion Evans of Hartsville, 764. Catrez Cook of Gilbert, 709. Trayvon Prey of Bethesda, 703. Leading passer is Corey Fields of Baptist Hill with 1,501 yards and 16 touchdowns. Oliver Michaud of Porter-Gaud has 1,443 yards and 12 touchdowns. Gage Maloney of Northwestern, 1,368 yards and 11 touchdowns. And in receiving, Eric Jackson of Porter-Gaud has 29 catches, 576 yards, 7 touchdowns. Xavion Gordon of Chapin, 25 catches, 556 yards. Richard Bailey of Baptist Hill, 23 catches, 489 yards. There you go. Some of these statistical leaders in the state thus far. All right, South Carolina heading to Kentucky. I think it's going to be an offensive showcase for the Gamecocks. I think McElwain will continue to get better as he relaxes. And now you've got a couple of running backs you can count on, I think. David Williams showed what he could do. Give him a little bit of room now. I think he realizes how he has to play and how he has to run. That's a bonus. A.J. Turner continues to give him a great effort back there. I think that's only good. And then the receiving continues to get better. If the ball is catchable, you can pretty much count on Brian Edwards to catch anything in the neighborhood. Rodriguez Davis is coming on. Casey Crosby is coming on. Hurst has been good if the ball gets to him. So anyway, they got some weapons.
The backs can catch out of the backfield.
Absolutely. And so David Williams is an interesting story because he got a lot of criticism from everybody in the preseason, and it was in the doghouse. He's worked his way out of it, had a very nice game against East Carolina, and we had a chance to talk to him on yesterday, about reemerging as a force for the Gamecocks.
I think I just had a hard work in practice. Me and Coach Muschamp met in the beginning of the week and had a talk one-on-one in his office and just went over stuff that he felt as though I can do that make me better.
You said in the preseason that you felt like you were the guy, should be the guy. You feel like after this game that you're ready to do that, assume that role for this time?
Well, I never lost that, though. I still feel like I'm the guy, and I just got to go out there and show that when I get in the game.
In that conversation, what did Coach Muschamp say to you that, hey, David, you got to do this if you're going to play?
He said, practice, I just got to go all out at practice. I just got to treat practice like it's a game, and it paid off.
You feel like you're doing that?
Yeah.
David, what would it mean for you guys if you win Saturday? That'd be 3 games. That'd equal all the ones last year. And I know you got bigger goals than that, but just to be at 3-1 in this ball.
That would be great. A lot of people didn't expect us to be in a position to go 3-1 or whatever. And then it's an East game, so we just got to go out there and compete.
What you had that big run on the pitch from McElwain, and is that more of your game? Do you prefer getting the ball out on the edge like that, or do you have to show that you can run it up inside between the tackles?
I feel like I like both. Whatever works is just, I guess, like how it's blocked and if the hold there, or if the player's there. I'm comfortable with both though.
How do you guys as an offensive unit feel after Saturday? I mean, you got off to the really good start, then kind of stagnated there for much of the rest of the game.
Yeah, I want to give credit to AJ. AJ set the tone from the beginning, and the atmosphere and the fans just went crazy. And I think we just fed off of that. And I just think we just need to stay consistent, keep the same momentum we had from the beginning, and bring it the second half.
How do you see Brandon growing now after playing the entire game, and he's pretty much it's his ball now as long as things are going well?
Yeah, I feel like he's way more comfortable. Like I said, I played in the first game with him in Vandy, and he was out there nervous. I'm like, calm down. So he came a long way.
You talked about start here, but there was a bad start at Mississippi State. How much of an importance are you putting in practice this week to kind of get started the right way against Kentucky?
Well, Coach said we're a second half team, so we're trying to change that and be a whole game team. So we just been at practices, we just been focusing on starting out and having a great start and get momentum and just feeding off it and keep going and going.
There's something weird about Kentucky playing at Kentucky that's just seemed to be a problem for South Carolina going back several years.
I remember I went to Kentucky once, so this would be my second time going to Kentucky. That game I didn't even expect to play, and I played because I think Brandon got hurt or whatever. But I don't feel like it's weird. I'm just looking forward to going and shocking these fans because I know last year 2 years ago they was pretty hype out there.
Yeah. Your performance Saturday led the team to rushing. Is that an indication that you and the coaches are on the same page and you're getting what they want from you?
Yeah, I think that's what me and Coach Muschamp got on the same page in the beginning of the week. I think we wasn't on the same page, so they wanted stuff that I wasn't understanding or that I didn't know that they wanted. So I think me and Coach Muschamp meeting, we got on the same page and it worked out for the best.
Have you learned anything from watching AJ, the way he just flies up in there and hits it up in real hard between the tackles? Is that more of what they're looking for from you too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then AJ pushed me at practice. I see he goes so hard at practice, so that just is an example for me to do the same thing at practice.
Have you never really been a hard practice player?
I think I've been a hard practice player, but I've never been pushed to the max. I feel like at the practice I'd be dead now. So I'm giving my all out there.
All right, David Williams kind of getting a chance again to prove himself, and we'll see if he can keep it going on Saturday against a Kentucky team that is not very good defensively. As we pointed out, they've given up a ton of points thus far. New Mexico State passed them dizzy up and down the field, a bunch of trick plays too. They gave up 304 yards rushing to Southern Miss in the opener. Florida, the next week, rushed for 244 yards. And then last week against New Mexico State, even though New Mexico State threw the ball well, they also rushed for 223 yards. They had 500 yards of offense, New Mexico State did. I think I would run the ball against Kentucky. I think I would come out and try and establish the run in some way.
Some people would tell you 2 years ago when they had a big lead at Kentucky, South Carolina's got stubborn and started throwing the football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when
South Carolina means Steve Spurrier. Mike Davis was averaging like 14 yards a carry.
Yeah, and they stopped running the football, and they threw up a couple of errant passes. Kentucky, one I think went off a guy's helmet. Kentucky intercepted, took the lead, and they never relinquished it. So sometimes, you run that clock on the road, and if you're running well, shorten the game.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they will try and do, especially with a freshman quarterback, if they can get the lead and if the defense is playing well. I think ball control would certainly be in their factor, as it would be for any team in that situation. Okay, Pro, we'll see you later on. K-Mac, you staying for SC Wild?
Always.
Oh, okay, good. The captain's in the house, Captain Billy Downer. We're going to talk, I'm sure, about gators and deer and other good stuff being shot out there in the wilds of South Carolina. That's coming up next here on Sports Talk.
It's time to get wild with S. It's time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
And welcome into this edition of SC Wild here on Sports Talk. Good to have the captain back in the house, Captain Billy Downer, South Carolina DNR. Back with us after being away from us for a couple of shows. You were in Seattle most recently, Seattle, Washington?
Seattle last week.
Yeah. How was that?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great city. Like you asked, did it rain? It didn't rain the first time. They say it rains twice in Seattle a year, spring and fall.
Spring and fall. All spring, all fall.
But we had 74-degree weather, highs 52 in the evening. I mean, totally different from here.
Great food.
But did you get a lot of rest? No, I'm not going to do the sleepless in Seattle joke.
Great
again.
food.
Oh, God.
Out there for the boating
during the
safety
break.
conference. And so it was out there on the bay.
Did you go see the Mariners?
I did not.
Yeah.
When we got into town on Sunday, there was a Seahawk game. A tremendous fan base there, of course.
Yeah.
We had a good trip. Good trip.
Well, alligator season continues in South Carolina and runs through the second Saturday in October. I saw a couple of pictures on the internet of captured gators, killed gators, one in Lake Marion and one down in the Ashley River. And those look like monster alligators. Are they getting bigger?
Here's the big one. I see it now.
Yeah.
The one from
Santee.
Yep, Santee.
Yeah,
I see that here now.
That was a hoss.
That was a nice one.
What's the deal?
Well, again, it is alligator season. Hunters are, basically they can hunt any time of day or night. Now that season's in, they can use lights. Again, people have to remember when hunting gators, they have to use hook and line. They can't take a firearm out there and shoot at a gator like you see on the shows. So remember they're out there with a hook and line or a crossbow or a bow and arrow set up for gator hunting, basically a fishing setup. So if you shoot the gator with the arrow, there's a line that comes off that, so you can reel the gator in, which is a couple hour ordeal.
Yeah,
to tire him out or her out. But again, the alligator's got to be at least 4 foot in length. You have to have your licenses, not a big game permit, but regular South Carolina license. But yes, there are some big gators being taken. The largest one to date this year is 13'4", and that was taken on the Ashley River.
Yeah.
Now this one from Lake Marion is a large gator. 12'9" is a big alligator. You look at the picture there, nice size head. Standing next to people, you take 12'9", stretch it out, it's going to look big.
Yeah,
they seem to pull big gators out of that.
There are big gators. Again, remember I've told the story. I've had to remove a 13-footer before from a nuisance problem. So I've seen that.
Was that a fun day at the office?
That was an 800-pound gator too. That was a big one. I mean, you get a 12. There's the old thing. There's an 8-foot gator, then there's an 8-foot gator. Now, there's 10-foot gator. There's a 10-foot. I mean,
yeah,
a 10-foot gator may be real thin, or they can be really big.
Is that tail to nose?
Yeah, just because the length is there. Now, 12-foot gator generally is a big gator no matter what. When you get to 12-foot, you start getting bigger gators. But even a 12-foot gator can be, in this picture you see in the of here from Lake Marion, is not a really big girth around the stomach. It's actually a pretty thin 12-footer. So you can get one that's even weighs more.
It's on Weight Watchers.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it, weighs 603 pounds. It's only 3 inches away from what I said, 13-foot.
Yeah.
That was 800 pounds. So that's 200 pounds, a lot more meat to add to that gator. And big, they start going a little bit slower, a lot slower. And so they start gaining that girth, and it takes years to get that girth there.
So we've had a good gator season so far. You've not heard of any incidents involving gator hunters?
I have not heard of any incidents. I did learn this. I was not aware. We are keeping records as far as the records that are turned in from folks who successfully take gators during the season. Since we started this back in 2008, when we started it. 2008, yeah. And the last 5 years, I got the numbers here if you wanted to hear them.
Sure.
Yes.
The last 5 years, here we go. Starting back at 2011, the largest gator was 13.6. 2012 was 13.9.5. 2013 was 13'0". 2014 was 13 foot 6 inches. In 2015 was 13 foot 7.5.
Now, why do they keep the state record based on length compared to, say, weight? Wouldn't weight be a more impressive record to keep?
Well,
versus?
we're really not keeping records per se. It's just we're keeping.
I mean, it sounds to me
when people report a gator's length, we're keeping that.
It sounds to me like if somebody says, "I caught an 850-pound gator,"
that's subjective. First of all, was the scale properly tuned? Was that scale certified ag scale? You get into all these things when you start talking about weight.
Okay.
When it comes to gators, it's the length that's the most important. We want to know how long was it?
Okay.
Because the question remains, what's the largest gator? What is it? There certainly have been some 14-foot gators recorded. I think even up to 15 feet in Florida and other places.
Yeah.
The largest gator ever reported, I learned today, back from the turn of the century, was supposedly over 19 feet.
I don't believe it.
Now, this was in Louisiana, and apparently he used his gun to measure.
Oh, one of
so
those.
there's lots of room for error there.
Yeah.
But this is actually the Texas, what hot sauce was? I can't remember the family, into the lineage for that family, but it was
Texas Pete?
Not Texas Pete, the other one.
Tabasco?
Tabasco.
Tabasco.
I can't remember the name, but anyway.
Yeah.
A long time, older Louisiana family, way back, turn of the century, this reported gator was apparently taken. It was 19 feet. Now, yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. Because the largest gator that we've ever recorded in any state, since they've been recording it really, is 15 foot. That's a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's kind of, who knows? Not going to say it couldn't, but it doesn't sound reasonable when you think of the biggest gators today are 15 feet.
Now, the gator hunting season in South Carolina, it's done from a controlling standpoint, right? You're trying
That's
to
correct.
control.
This is not a sport
Right.
necessarily. This is really trying to control the population.
Yeah.
It's a method to control the population.
Is it working?
Yes, it is. The people are taking gators. They're moving them. Again, they have to be at least 4 foot in length.
Mm-hmm.
They got to use a line or snare to take the gator, pull it alongside the boat, and then they can use a pistol or a bang stick, that favorite bang stick of yours.
I love the bang stick.
Yeah.
We need to get a bang stick for the office.
Because we want this to be humane. Even though we're trying to remove nuisance animals or try to control the population, you still want the kill to be humane.
Yeah.
You don't want an animal to suffer. But again, it's been successful so far. A lot of big gators being reported. Again, anybody kills a 12-foot gator or larger, that's a nice size gator. It may not be a state record per se, because we really don't have a state record. But
so what are people doing? The person that brought in this 13-foot 4-inch,
what are they gonna do with it?
And what are they doing? I know I saw the story. They took it to the taxidermists.
Correct. A lot of people will mount the head, or they're doing shoulder mounts coming out of the wall, with the mouth open. Yeah. So I've seen, our Florence office has a very nice mount of a full size gator,
full
completely
size,
swimming on the wall. It's a
Is
really
that right?
neat mount actually that somebody donated there. But it's tremendous, very nice mount. But the
meat,
from the meat side,
the
meat's very good. Remember, the main meat comes from the tail, and then the real select meat is in the jaw. Think about that's where their power's in the tail, and then the jaw is their power too. So that's kind of like the loin meat. I think is that meat in the jaw.
The gator that you cooked for us here last year, that came from what part of the?
That was tail.
That came from the tail.
Yep.
Can we get some jaw?
I'll work on it. I will reach out to my good friend, alligator control agent, Dennis Matherly. I'll call him out and get him to get you some jaw.
Some jaw.
I don't know that I've ever had jaw. I've had lots of tail. No jaw.
Okay. Good.
Wow.
It's good game. I don't want to
That
hear
wasn't
about
even.
I don't want to hear about your.
Get it even worse.
You guys, I can't. I mean, that was a very serious comment.
That's a good
and
comment.
you guys take it.
We went from sleepless in Seattle to that. We're tail. That's just
it all tastes like chicken. Even the jaw tastes like chicken.
Well, what did you think it tastes like?
Chicken.
Phil? You said you think it tastes like chicken.
I think it tastes like chicken.
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't taste like chicken. It has a different flavor.
Tastes like alligator.
Well, maybe in my brain I had
somebody
it
handed you that.
You told yourself chicken so you didn't get sick.
Probably so.
Trying to protect
you would if you ate that and somebody said this is chicken, you'd say this isn't chicken.
I didn't want my body to
reject it. It has a little bit of the body to reject it.
It's not an organ, Corn.
Why do you look at me like
it's not an organ? Yeah, it's not gonna.
You're not gonna.
Your body's not gonna shut down on you.
Okay, Mr. Tail Chaser over here. All right, we're gonna hit a break here. We got more coming up. SC Wild on this Wednesday night. Going to talk about the deer hunting season. If If you have a question, 800-956-7266. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com or send it via Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Back in a moment.
Time to get wild with SC Wild. Everything hunting and fishing from the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources and your host, Phil Kornblut. SC Wild on Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and we have the captain, Billy Downer, in here with us as well, as it is SC Wild Night here on Sports Talk. You know, we talk about sports fans all coming together for Founders Federal Credit Union. Well, you hunters and you Fisher people out there, you too can score big with Founders Federal Credit Union. They have convenient office locations all over the state, in Columbia, at USC, up at Clemson, ATMs at Clemson, Converse, Limestone, PC, USC Lancaster, Winthrop, and York Tech. Visit foundersfcu.com for a full listing to find an ATM or office near you. I'm sure you can find one near the lakes and near the mountains and near the oceans and everything else. Hey, if you're not a member, visit Rex, join founders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA. Okay, we will talk some deer hunting season here in just a moment, but the captain, Billy Downer, is with us, and let's hit a couple of phone calls for him as we go to Billy down in Hampton, where the fishing and the hunting is great. Hey, Billy, welcome in to SC Wild with Captain Billy Downer.
Phil Kornbluth, you remember me, Billy Schumann down in Hampton County.
Absolutely. How you doing, boy?
And man, I'll tell you what, getting old tail, that's for sure, buddy.
The greatest impersonator of Bob Fulton on the planet.
All those to receive us to the near side. It's going to be on to the wide side down Michelob.
There you go. I love that stuff.
Yeah, you hadn't lost it.
No, I have not. But let me tell you, at 42 years old now, raising a couple kids and growing up down here in God's country and living in Mount Pleasant, you know, it's easy to take off down to Hampton County and Northern Beaver County and do some hunting. But I just want to reach out and talk about the state's biggest wildlife industry. Gators is exciting to talk about, but I'm really excited to talk about the conservation that's occurred in the turkey hunting with 3 birds. And now that we're starting to, you know, made a legislative historical change with these buck tags coming up in 2017. And I've heard some biologists, and they've really kind of rubbed me the wrong way, talking about now that there's only 3 tags, more people are going to kill turkeys. And now that there's buck tags, more people are going to kill deer. But, you know, it just, you can't, turkey hunters, quail hunters, bird hunters get along, but deer hunters just don't get along, Captain. Help me out here. How are we going to patrol this?
Well, actually, the point with the tags is actually going to make it so much easier for officers to patrol, because now deer have to be tagged. If there's a deer feet up in the back of a truck, an officer's got a reason to stop and look, immediately check first thing, is there a tag? Makes it very easy to enforce our deer laws. For the last many years, and where I've worked in Clarendon and Sumter County, it's difficult to enforce deer regulations from the standpoint of limits, because the limits were almost unenforceable because you couldn't really prove how many deer someone really killed. Are we really enforcing that? Our county didn't have a deer limit for a long time anyway, but when we do have a deer limit, a lot of the times it was hard to enforce that limit. Now that there are tags, it's pretty simple. Deer's tagged, it's legal. If it's a legal tag, if not, it's illegal. So from an enforcement standpoint, it helps us out tremendously. From the standpoint of taking more deer, you know, with your reference to the turkeys and deer as far as tagging helps us limit populations. It helps us control the take, so that folks, if you take a legal animal, you know, legally take an animal, you're going to tag it. Of course, there's always the argument that the same guy that wasn't tagging turkeys before isn't tagging them now. Nothing we do in law is ever going to fix that problem with folks that don't want to follow the law. They're going to still break the law. Shame on them, and hopefully we catch them. And a lot of times we do. But there's always that scenario you can bring up with those that don't want to follow the law. And it doesn't matter what law we change, that's not going to change them. But as a good conservationist, as I know you are, we look forward to limiting our population a little bit now, limiting our take a little bit so that our populations can recover, particularly turkeys. I was talking to our one of the turkey biologists today, looking at gobbler sampling, from where they were looking at the gobbler activity, the new season length, the different time that the season's in now, and how it's going to affect our populations in the future. But that was a good point, and I agree with you. Some people don't want to follow the rules, but from the standpoint of the deer legislation and the deer tagging, it's going to help our officers out a lot.
I just want to take my hat off to Alvin Taylor, Charles Ruth, all those guys that worked their butts off, and Chip Campson. You know, he came to the table there and proposed that bill S454, and I'm just historically so proud that we might have a chance to kill some really good bucks for my kids' future. And Phil, you know I love football, but deer hunting is big business. And God bless South Carolina.
Okay, Billy, good hearing from you, man. Don't be a stranger. And we appreciate you. This guy, I've known him for a long time listener to Sports Talk. He does a fabulous, you couldn't really tell by that, but he does a fabulous Bob Fulton impersonation.
That was a good Bob.
Yeah, but when he's on his game, it's incredible. Yeah, what you got, Kim?
We got a Twitter question from Brad who wants to know what can be planted in thin woods with no underbrush to help hold deer.
Absolutely. First thing on if you got thin woods, if you've got areas, of course, it's going to depend on, can you disc the ground up? Can you prepare your soil? Easy thing there. Peas during the early fall, late summer, the early fall, peas are great. There's a lot of different mixes out that have different variety of peas in there. Of course, soybeans, you can always plant soybeans as well. Those work well, even in food patches. But during the late fall and winter, great items to plant there. There's something called naked oats. You're going to take a joke about that, but naked oats, don't go there.
Look, man.
But naked oats is a great product out there that you can find. Wanamaker Seed Company has those. Some other seed companies have them. But naked oats have a very high protein value that deer actually consume when they eat it when it's green.
Mm-hmm.
So very good for deer herds, and they actually come to it pretty well. And it grows real easily in our sandy soil.
All right, quickly, one more call here for the captain. And we're going to go to Lenny, also down in Hampton. Okay, Lenny, welcome into SC Wild.
Hey, thanks, Phil. First of all, I can't believe I heard Billy on the radio, and you got K-Mac talking about their chasing tail and naked oats. But
it's been a great night.
I got a question. My buddies in Georgia, they were telling me that now they got to fill out permit for dog drives, and they told me that it's coming. It's coming to South Carolina soon. I was just curious if that's the case, and go ahead.
Yep, thank you.
Great question. Dog hunting has been a traditional part of deer hunting in South Carolina since before the turn of the century. It remains a part of our culture today. Of course, there's always that small batch of folks that ruins it for everybody else. And so anybody can come up, lots of folks come up with bad stories for dog hunting. But it has been a tradition, and done in the right way over large tracts of land, it can be done legally and ethically. As far as the law, there is no law on the books to change dog hunting to make it illegal at this time. There's been nothing brought to that point about registering or anything like that. Georgia has gone through some different law changes across. Some of them are specific to county, if I understand correctly. So all across their states, a little different. The biggest legislation we just produced this past year for deer is historic in our state, as the gentleman before said, in that we're tagging deer now. All deer are going to be tagged, and we actually have a buck limit that's enforceable now. So that's the biggest change, but nothing on the books to take away dog hunting.
Okay. Real quick final thought as we head into another weekend.
When you're out there, think about how everybody else looks at you and what you're doing. We talk about dog hunting or any other type of hunting at all. Remember, everyone doesn't hunt. Everybody doesn't agree with what you do. Do things ethically. Think about others. I always tell kids in the classroom, I tell adults all the time, what you do today affects tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So act accordingly. Be a sportsman in the woods. When you're out there this fall, particularly identify your target. Know what you're shooting at. Identify it. Know what's beyond it, what's in front of it. Make sure you take that shot. You're meaning to shoot what you're shooting at.
Captain, thank you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Look forward to it.
Thank you, K-Mac. Thank you, John March and Carson Mason. Carson over here tonight as well. We thank her. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you from Atlanta tomorrow.